On today's CHGO White Sox podcast, we talk about Lenyn Sosa's surgent second half, and we will predict where the top 10 MLB free agents will land this offseason. Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, the full CHGO White Sox crew. That is Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You could read his work up at allchgo.com. And back is the man in the middle, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. Go tell him happy belated birthday, all right? Hit the thumbs up button and subscribe at least for Herb's birthday. Turned 32?
Yeah.
Congratulations. We got a ton of
14th year in a row.
We got a ton of content coming up for you today. We're going to be talking about the Chicago White Sox, obviously, a little bit about Lenyn Sosa, if he'll be on the 2025 opening day roster, and then the three of us will predict where the top 10 free agents will land this off season. Oh, correctly.
We'll correctly predict, yes.
What happens if we are not correct?
Those players need to go where we
to the White
tell
Sox.
them. Yeah.
If we don't get it right, they all end up on the White Sox.
All right, there you go. And we're being produced today by our pal, Steven.
Nicholas.
Yeah.
You left it on a cliffhanger there.
Yeah, it's usually
At
just...
least he didn't call you Alexander like I did.
Yeah, that was a fun start to our careers together, yeah.
No, it's just first name here. You know, we're friendly.
Yeah, we know each other. First name basis for sure.
Exactly. All right. So let us know any thoughts you have, whether it be on Lenyn Sosa or the top 10 free agents. We'll also be sharing some thoughts from our CHGO Discord. So if you do want to become a diehard, head over to allchgo.com/diehard. You can sign up. You get access to the CHGO Lounge, and you get to chat with us about whatever your heart's desire, whether it's about White Sox or not. Also, we're coming to you live on the Sunnyside Summer Thursday. This is the CHGO White Sox podcast. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. Lenyn Sosa. We've been talking a lot about the free agents that might be on this team over the past couple of days. Lenyn Sosa, not a free agent, but kind of a straggler. We've talked about him as a quad A player, but his last 35 games was pretty nice. Guy had a .311 batting average, and maybe it was just how bad the White Sox and the rest of the White Sox were, but it was really nice watching Lenyn Sosa play baseball till the second half of the season.
I'll tell you what, as I slip into hawk mode there, I'll tell you what, Wimpy. I'll tell you what, the White Sox might be on the lookout for some infield help. I think I've brought up multiple times now that I think they could use a shortstop with while they wait for Colson Montgomery. They're not going to go get a second baseman because I think they're probably extraordinarily encouraged by what they saw from Lenyn Sosa. Lenyn Sosa is a guy who's gotten a lot of opportunity. Before last year, not very much of it was consistent, but he finally got that consistent opportunity last year. Didn't really click until the very end, and then kind of everybody looked up and was like, oh, not a bad finish there. So, we heard from Pedro Grifol over multiple years that he wasn't a big believer in September, right? That the numbers there could be a mirage sometimes with the way that the rosters are, the way teams are either very much going for a playoff spot or very much not going for a playoff spot. But the White Sox are in a position where they can find out if that was a mirage or not. There's no need to get rid of Lenyn Sosa. There's no need to, if you want to use the word upgrade right now, right? Because they're not expected to be contending for anything in 2025. So I think it's a perfect opportunity to give Lenyn Sosa more opportunity and see if September was real or if September wasn't. And if it wasn't, no great shakes. They can just move on to the next infield candidate a few months down the road.
And to speak to what you were just saying, Vinny, the first 5 months of the 2024 season for Lenyn Sosa, he scored, I believe, 14 runs total. In the month of September and October, he scored 14 runs. Like he was on fire that month, almost hit 400, didn't really get on base much more than just hitting, so he was close to 400 there, and had a 566 slugging percentage. That's awesome. Like, that was like maybe a awakening for Lenyn Sosa, as we've been talking about, Sean. Quad A player for most of his career, tears up AAA. Every single time he goes down there, he's like, okay, let me do this. And it's like, okay, I'm better than AAA. This is not me. And then when he comes back up to the major league, he's like, ugh, this guy is not ready, especially defensively. And I still have questions about his actual baseball IQ, because there have been a couple plays last year, one in Philadelphia, one late in the year, where he was like, are you thinking baseball? Are you really into the game that is currently in front of you? Or are you just, not thinking before the pitch is thrown, like where you need to go with the ball, who's going to be covering, things like that. But his offense is not in question, especially in that last month where he was striking the ball hard. And I know you got some stats, because the other day TJ presented something about the person that has faced the most 100-mile-per-hour pitches in Major League Baseball, and Lenyn Sosa was the number one guy in Major League Baseball. And I don't know how well he did, but he faced the most, so it seems like pitchers were like, hey, this guy can struggle but gets heat, but apparently he did not.
There's only a certain guys that can throw 100, and mainly the reason why Lenyn Sosa was tied for the most 100-mile-per-hour pitches faced was because he faced Mason Miller and Robert Suarez, and had, 20 of those 27 pitches just coming against those guys and those guys only. And hey, at least out of those guys, Robert Suarez and Mason Miller, the guys that throw like 105, he did get one home run, that massive home run in San Diego off Suarez in the 9th inning. So he did well against Heat on the top 10 of most 100-mile-per-hour pitches faced. Sosa had the third highest expected weighted on base average, just behind Ohtani and O'Neal Cruz. Is it much to read into? Likely not, because it's 27 pitches. That's not really a big sample, and it's mainly made up of one home run. And if you take out that home run, he did pretty bad against 100-mile-per-hour pitches. But this is a player that does obviously seem like he has a spot. Like you bring up, Vinny, just looking at the depth chart, it seems like the catcher is going to be Corey Lee or a free agent of types, and Corey Lee would be on the bench.
Or Edgar Carroll.
Yeah. First base will likely be Sheets and Vaughn, Elko, maybe a free agent, but first base seems to be locked up. If they don't go Elko, maybe we see a little bit more of Lenyn at first base. I think he had 2 games there this year. Sosa at second base. Seems like shortstop's open for now. Third base being Vargas. You got your DH being Ramos, and then we have 2 bench pieces being Fletcher and Baldwin, and Benintendi and Robert seem to be locked in there. So that's your current roster, the way that we think it could shut
Fletcher
down.
And Wright, I would imagine.
I have it open.
Wow.
We've done some free agents here. I mean, right now they have $56.9 million with one shortstop position open, right field open, 2 bench spots, one rotation spot, and then a relief spot open.
Sean's moving on from Fletch.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think he's going to be the starting right fielder?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I'll put him in. I don't know. We've been doing all these free agent showdowns, and there hasn't been much Fletch talk. So here we are. All right. So Fletch is your starting right fielder.
I know we were all enamored with Mark Canha yesterday, but
I like it. I like Mark Canha. John Brennan saying Lenyn Sosa and Brian Ramos are nice infield bench pieces, but the starting lineup should be Miguel Vargas at third base, Colson Montgomery at shortstop, Brooks Baldwin at second base, and Tim Elko at first base. Well, at least there, John, Montgomery's not going to be at shortstop. So that's the main thing with at least
eventually.
Well, but we're at least for the question is opening day 2025. I think it's very impossible to talk myself into Montgomery being the opening day shortstop, and that doesn't mean Sosa is. I don't think they're interested at seeing Sosa at shortstop at all. But we could see Baldwin possibly being there. Amaya's obviously been a name as well. They're going to need somebody to play the second base, and it seems like Lenyn, especially what he did for the last 35 games, kind of got into a groove there. He was sent down in early July and then brought up in July 30th. At the end of the year, here are some stats that I do want to get into. Steven, we got all those graphics ready? Yes. All right. So let's go into the 10-game rolling weighted on base average.
Mm-hmm.
So this is for 2024. You could see that from pretty much April to June, Sosa didn't play much, and that line just kind of flat levels when he gets called down to AAA. But once he gets called back up around June, there's a quick peak, then a quick valley, and then he gets sent back down to AAA. Then there's a little bit of a spike, then he gets set back down, and then you could kind of see that it just creeps up there until it just skyrockets at the end. And again, he hit around 311 with a slugging percentage around 440.
If this looks like Lenyn Sosa was lying to the police.
It did. Yes.
That's what that looks like.
He's not looking at the Sears catalog or the Victoria's Secrets catalog. He's looking at the Sears catalog. So Lenyn Sosa, it did seem like something clicked there at the end, and I just tried to look like what did click. So here are the swings before 7:30. On the left are all the pitches that he swung. No, 7:30, July 30th.
I was going to say, he's great on the East Coast.
On the left is all the pitches that Lenyn Sosa swung at. And what you really want to see is you see that dark kind of grouping there on middle in pitches.
Yep.
And I'm just wondering if his view and his approach changed at the plate. So a lot of middle in pitches that he's looking at and swinging at. And then what's on the right are swing and misses.
Oof.
A lot of swing and misses on pitches in the zone. If you want to go to after 7:30, Stephen, thank you very much. You could now see that his focus, at least on the right, goes to a little bit more middle in, like bottom in, and he's kind of focusing more in on that, like that knee to thigh area, and then the misses are on sliders low and away. So he kind of eliminated the swing and miss on fastballs and really anything inside. His whiff rate from pre-July 30th to after July 30th, about 20% to down to 17%. So he did swing and miss less. And when he was making contact, he was hitting it hard. I don't know if it was more of a focus on, I'm going to not swing at anything below my knees and just focus on what those strikes are. I don't know if he really dove into that approach, but it seemed like something changed. It seemed like he was really able to eliminate those lower half pitches. Stephen, if you want to go into the final graphic here, this is him versus bottom of the zone swings on the left before July 30th, on the right after July 30th. He still struggled when pitches were outside of the zone, but it's all about not swinging at those pitches as much. And you could see that bottom of the zone in the strike zone, he gets the red coming through, even on sliders that were in the zone and away. Didn't make the greatest contact at him, but didn't swing and miss, where you could see on the left, it's all blue, ice cold. It seemed like Lenyn Sosa made some adjustments and wasn't the quad A player that we were typical to seeing.
I mean, listen, there's something to be said for just time. There's something to be said for finally getting a consistent opportunity and then taking your time to figure out Major League pitching. It's very difficult, as everyone in baseball will tell you, to hit Major League pitching, especially compared to minor league pitching. There's a huge jump in the quality of player that you're facing off against. And for someone who had very sporadic opportunity prior to this season, yeah, we saw some moments where he'd hit some home runs, but then we'd see some moments where he wasn't impressive at all. You throw the defense in there, and it was enough to not really be high on the guy. But hey, you do it enough times, you get enough reps, and all of a sudden maybe you start to figure some stuff out. I do want to remind everyone that we're talking about 1 month of not just a 6-month season, but of a guy's entire career to this point. So hard to put too many eggs in that basket, but there's no doubt that just finally getting the reps and finally seeing Major League pitching enough where you can start to understand it is definitely a thing, and it's not unheard of for a guy to just finally get it.
Do you think there's also a thing about him knowing going into the offseason this year that he has the upper hand at second base? Like, he knows more than likely, as we were been talking about, he is the second baseman of the White Sox. And as Vinny says, like, having that confidence in that last month can give him a jump start into the season, and knowing, hey, I've adjusted to what Major League pitchers have brought to me. As you were just talking about, like, I couldn't hit a fastball in the zone early in the year, and now I'm crushing them, still struggling with the sliders outside, as most Major League Baseball players and White Sox players do. But, like, I think there is something to be said about having a job secured, or at least having the upper hand of having that job secured, instead of saying, will I be in Charlotte? Will I be in Chicago? Will I be going up and down like I did in 2024? I think, just having that, knowledge and having that comfort of, I'm in the major leagues. All I need to do is work on my swing this offseason, knowing that I'm comfortable in Chicago this year.
It's possible. I'm not sure what that click was. I think he's just trying to survive at the major league level. I don't even know if he's like, oh, well, now there's a spot for me at second base. I think if he could do this in 2022, I think he would have been pumped for it. And, hey, I think Rick Hahn would have been pumped for it too. I think there was a question, why do people sour on Lenyn, or why have people been soured on Lenyn? And I think it's just the bad taste of 2022, where this was a team coming off an AL Central winning season, and they didn't have a backup plan on if Tim Anderson got hurt. And it was, young Lenyn Sosa, who was probably a little bit too green for the opportunity. We're going to need to take a break. We are going to talk a little bit more Lenyn Sosa, and then we'll jump into the top 10 free agents and where they might land this offseason. We first want to let you know about our friends over at Empire With Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats, but Empire cannot be beaten on their quality, service, and speed. That's why competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. Empire keeps shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Their philosophy is to help you find what you need and not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in, and their product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles for your home. And you can see those styles with their virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will transform any of your rooms. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/CHGO for details. 588-2300 Empire Today.
We're sponsored
There you go.
by the Chicago Sports Network.
Yes.
See, the ad read starts with a note to me, and I almost read that. But you're not supposed to read that. You're supposed to read
Do you want to read
the
it to
second
me?
paragraph.
You don't have to read it to them. You could just read it to me.
Well, later, after the show.
Okay.
We're sponsored by Chicago Sports Network. It is the new home of the Blackhawks, the Bulls, and the White Sox, and all of their games. CHSN will broadcast more than 300 live games per year across the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox, and will feature a full lineup of original Chicago-focused sports content. They're also Chicago-based, Chicago-built, and Chicago to the core, and they're bringing it to every corner of Chicago across all 77 neighborhoods and beyond. At CHSN, Chicago comes first. Visit chsn.com for more info on how to watch the Bulls, the Blackhawks, the Sox, and all of their games all seasons long.
Appreciate it, Vinny. And thank you to Ellie in the chat for the $5 super chat saying his English birthday is on the 10th and his Hebrew is on the 17th.
So if you guys want to get Ellie some gifts.
If you want to get him some
There you go.
gifts.
Happy
I
early
know he likes
birthday.
the White Sox.
It's, I think we won't be broadcasting that day. That is English birthday on the 10th. I think that's Sunday. So happy early birthday, Ellie.
Will we be broadcasting on the 17th?
We probably will be. Well, I don't know if that's the same.
I think it's probably also
That would
a
also
Sunday.
be a Sunday.
That was the joke.
Yeah.
Was that like 7 days later?
I don't
know.
It's the same.
Math.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know if the Hebrew calendar is the same.
appreciate everyone hanging out
I
with
did.
us.
I did want to bring up, Sean, and maybe this is where you were going next, but Hawks with Sox had a comment asking about our guy, Nicky Lopez. Is he still on the team? Yes, Nicky Lopez is still on the team, but perhaps not for long.
Yeah.
We have speculated pretty logically, I think, that his big raise to, I believe, more than $6 million next year, projected via arbitration, unlikely to get a contract offer from the White Sox and most likely destined for a free agency. Doesn't eliminate the possibility that he could be back with the White Sox, but seems like they would use that as a cost-saving measure, and so that's why we're talking about Lenyn Sosa as pretty much the guy to start at second base.
I mean, if I was the White Sox and I looked at the production that Nicky brought to the table and what you possibly can get out of Lenyn, I'm like, $6 million? That's a lot. And Lenyn's making like $800,000. I'll just roll the dice with that, and I'm sure, like you, I mean, we had him on the show. You've dealt with him in the clubhouse. They love him there, right?
Great guy.
Awesome dude. Great guy to have on your team. I'm sure some other actual contending team would love to have a Nicky Lopez on their team.
Plug him in for the defense. I mean,
goodness.
listen, he was a Gold Glove finalist this year for the White Sox. I mean, you can be as honest about what the offensive numbers were as you want. His defense was top of the league good.
Yep.
Well, and he's similar to Jimenez in Cleveland. Like Jimenez came up as a shortstop, and then they moved him over to second base. Now he's giving them, top of the league second base defensive production because he's naturally a shortstop. I mean, Sosa or Lopez, we saw a lot play shortstop this year just because they really didn't have a shortstop, and he was their best defender.
After they traded DeYoung, even beforehand, but after especially. Yeah.
Right. So if he's someone's second baseman or at least backup defender, infield defender, I mean, he's going to be valuable just because of the defense that he consistently brings.
Just not $6 million valuable.
No. And plus he's like 30. No offense. Everyone ages, but I think the White Sox are looking to play
not Herb
younger. Yeah, you get older every single day.
Yeah. Herb said he has had 14 32nd birthdays in a row. That's pretty
great.
good.
It's been good.
You're 14 going on 30 or something like that. All right.
Act like 30.
Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Referee, Fat Hipster, Uncle Ted, Grumpy Pig, and Friends. I think I named 5 people there, and we have 5 people commenting, but only 5 likes. Hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Steven, if you wouldn't mind scrolling up just real quick. Sergio, I'll get to your comment in just a second. Final thing on Lenyn Sosa. Against fastballs in this post-July 30th range, 94 fastballs facing for Lenyn Sosa, 94 fastballs faced by Luis Robert Jr., 92 faced by Andrew Benintendi, and 94 faced by Andrew Vaughn. Which player had the longest average distance against fastballs in that sample?
I would say Benintendi.
Context clues, Lenyn Sosa.
Thank you, Vinny.
Nope.
I appreciate it.
Reading comprehension, people.
We love it. 214 average feet for Lenyn Sosa, Robert at 186, Benintendi at 186, and Vaughn at 184. So not only just by like 10, by nearly 20 average feet here for Sosa. It seemed like he really did well against fastballs, and I'm intrigued to see what he can do in 2025.
And I'll throw a little bit of cold water on the Lenyn Sosa love fest here, and not even cold water. Just keep in mind that position will probably be up for grabs in spring training. Like, I don't know. I don't think Lenyn Sosa has done so much that they're like, all right, all comers, try to find another place to play, because there's no way anyone's going to be able to knock Lenyn Sosa off the pedestal here. If Brooks Baldwin comes out and has a tremendous spring training and wins a position, I don't think that would be the most surprising thing in the world. I think Baldwin is a name to remember because he did get so much run at the major league level this year. He is a guy who probably wouldn't be going backwards unless he, performs in a way that would necessitate that. So when we get to spring training, it's very likely that there will be a position battle at second base. Lenyn Sosa probably going to be the favorite going into camp, but it doesn't mean that someone like Baldwin couldn't take it from him.
Lee, Vaughn, Sosa, Baldwin, Vargas, your infield? Could obviously switch.
I think there will be a veteran at shortstop.
Okay.
I think there will be a newcomer veteran at shortstop.
Your guy Newman.
My guy,
Maybe?
Kevin Newman.
Maybe.
My guy, Jose Iglesias, who's 35 years old.
Perfect.
Yeah. There's no shortstop that I'm really excited about. So I'm fine if it ends up being a Brooks Baldwin at shortstop. I'm fine if it ends up being a Jake Amaya, I guess.
And I mean,
Fine
maybe
if it's Paul DeJong too.
What if there's another trade like the Bummer trade last year that nets them a handful of guys that they just want to test out?
Hey, Braden Shoemaker's still on the team.
Braden Shoemaker is still on the team.
That's true. Hey,
he'll be at spring training.
He gets a lefty bat there too. All right, well, let's move away from Lenyn Sosa. And I do think Grumpy Pig asks a fair question here. Can he buy Vinny's mustache?
No, not for sale.
Nothing that you can work out there?
Well, let's see how much. I shouldn't say not for sale. Let's see an offer and then
name
we'll
your price.
Yeah,
Grumpy Pig and
how
friends.
much are you willing to pay?
Yeah. All right. Why don't you scroll up here, Steven, and we'll go to Sergio saying, none of the top 10, heck, probably not even the top 25, will ever be close to landing with the White Sox. We appreciate that, Sergio. Really appreciate the positivity here. First off, I just want to say in response, what about the 26th? Maybe not 25, but what if they get the 26th best for?
Well, also, he uses the word ever. I mean,
ever.
These guys are going to be free agents again someday.
Yeah, Andrew Benintendi was a top 25 free agent when he signed.
Correct.
They were just wrong in that evaluation.
My point is that, like, one day Corbin Burns is going to be like 45. Maybe they could sign him then.
Yeah, there you go. All right. I mean, we got Ken Griffey Jr. once. All right, let's get into this. We are using MLB Trade Rumors top 10 list. Leading off their list is Juan Soto. They think Soto's going to get 13 years, $600 million, maybe before we get to the team. Over or under $600 million for Soto?
Over. Like, I think he's going to get and want to get the Ohtani money. I know he doesn't play. He's not a pitcher and he's not a good fielder, but he does play in the field. And I think that there's been a precedent set with Ohtani's money, and he's younger than what Ohtani was when he hit the free agent market. So, yes, he'll have a lot of suitors, and I think $700 million is not out of the question. I think over.
Wow. I don't know. I think Ohtani is obviously a unique case, and when you're signing a guy to play two positions for you, to do two jobs for you, that comes with its own unique category of spending. I'm not saying that there won't soon be a player who only plays one position who matches it, because guess what? Contracts only go up. But I think right out of the box, I don't think he's hitting Ohtani money quite yet. I think something like 600 sounds about right for what would be the biggest position player contract ever. Right.
Yeah. I mean, what is the current? Is it Bryce as the current?
Trout?
Or
right.
was this 14 for $400 million for Tatis Jr.?
Oh, yeah, the extension.
He was a lot.
Trout was 12, 426. Tatis, of course, now I can't find him. Tatis was 340.
Okay. 340.
So yeah, I guess it's still Trout.
Yeah.
I think I'll say under, but I think it will be for less years than 13.
Okay.
So I think the AAV might be higher, but I think he might be like a 10 to 11 rather than a 13-year deal. Where does he end up? Who ends up giving him this boatload of money?
I know that people they just gave the money to Judge. How do they have more money? But it's the Yankees. The Yankees are going to give him all the money he needs, and he's going to stay right there at the short right field porch and be in the boogie down for years to come. So that's where I'm going. The Yankees, where I think their crosstown rival, the Mets, will be in that conversation, but I think ultimately he stays with the Yankees.
Yeah, they need him. That's a team that wants to get right back to the World Series and wants to have a much better showing than they had. Obviously, they've got one of the best offensive players in baseball in Judge. They want Soto back to the Yanks.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Mets, mainly because we're very used to the Yankees doing that, making that big splash, and I think that Steve Cohen wants to change the way people look at New York baseball. I think he wants to change the dichotomy of Yankees versus Mets, and I think he kind of wants to go and give a middle finger to the Steinbrenner. So I'm going to say whatever number the Yankees give, he will just give $5 million more until that number gets absurd to the point where the Yankees just fall out, because the Yankees have less to prove. The Yankees have 27 titles. This isn't George anymore in the 70s. Hank is holding on to dear life while he's the owner, and it seems like Cohen's very comfortably there.
And don't they have young prospects coming up for the Yankees?
Yeah, I mean, for the Yankees, sure. Yeah. Who's the Yankees?
Sorry, it's an old thing. So they
you want to explain the joke?
Nah.
Okay.
I don't think you need to explain it.
Yeah, you got Dominguez, you got Judge, you got Spencer Jones, who our guy Uncle Ted wants as well.
But they're not rolling dice on those guys when they could just pay a guy, which they have the money, to man right field. And I know some people will say he's a butcher. He is, but he makes up for it and more by hitting and getting on base. And he's going to be 26. Ridiculous.
That's the most insane part he's going to get a 13-year deal, and he'll probably still be playing at 39 or 40, probably chasing 700 home runs at that point.
And you can always downshift like Ohtani has, even though he's a pitcher, to DH. The value will still be there with the bat. That's what you're paying Soto for. You're not paying for his fielding. His arm is decent in right field, but the butchering of the position of right field, which Yankee Stadium right field is not that big, so that's a perfect place for him to play.
I think one sleeper team that should be in on him that I don't think really is. We heard 7 teams are in on him. There's also one mystery team.
It's the Rays.
No, the Rays were the team that was no So there was 6
they're no
teams,
longer a mystery.
2 mysteries.
You laugh. I'm serious. Yeah. The Rays are.
They are. That's what Heyman reports.
Stop it.
Come on, Herb.
Stop it.
But that is a player that you should go out and spend. They're young enough. They're good enough. If you're gonna go spend a boat ton of money, this is the guy.
Absolutely, 100%. But I think multiple things go on with the Rays. They don't know where they're playing next year because of the hurricane. Secondly, they have never done that. And yeah, I would, as last year, that Ohtani, Soto, those are the players you throw money at because they are generational. But I don't think the Rays, they might be like, hey, we might want to get in here. And then they see the numbers like, oh, hell, we didn't know it was that big.
Maybe they'll just give him the Rays.
Yeah,
might as well.
They were
Juan Soto signs to Rays for Rays.
They were apparently reaching out to both Ohtani and Freddie Freeman, so you never know. Maybe there's some money that's just never been spent.
But they're doing the White Sox, the old White Sox. They want to let you know that they're in there, but never landing the player.
Well,
it's the old Rick Hahn move.
They're very interested. It just has to be on a very certain contract that has so many disclaimers, so many amendments. It takes about 5 days just to read the contract with the amount of opt-outs. Thank you, referee 583, for the super chat, $5 super chat. Appreciate you. $680 million at 12 years for 56.5 a year. He turned 26 9 days ago. The White Sox and Yankees are my teams, and I follow them too much. He stays with the Bronx. So referee 583, our guy Brian, throwing out there that he's going to be staying with the Yankees for $680 million, which is absurd. Well worth it, but I don't know if 680 is going to be the number. Seems like 600 is fairly in a pro. I mean, no position player outside of Ohtani, who plays both ways, has hit over $500 million. So we will see. Hopefully, Juan Soto has a contract signed by December with either the Yankees or Mets, and that way we'll be right, and he doesn't have to sign with the White Sox. We're going to take a break. We're going to let you know about some of our great sponsors like ComEd and Game Time, and we'll talk more about the top 10 here. Tell them about ComEd.
Vinny, ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficient.
I didn't know, Herb, that ComEd did that.
Yep. The energy efficiency program can help find up to 35% in energy savings.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what does a business have to do?
Just sign up for a free facility assessment at ComEd.com/biz.
That sounds so easy. Why aren't more businesses doing that?
Maybe those businesses forgot the website,
Vinny. They're forgetful.
Yes.
So they just need to hear it over and over again. ComEd.com/biz, 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 ComEd.com/biz. Wade Boggs Carpet World, Wade Boggs Carpet World.
Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings vary by customers' energy usage and rate. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law.
Where are you going tonight, Herb?
I'm going to the Bulls.
Bulls. We are very excited that you could go see your Chicago teams at the United Center if you want to. Whether it's Bulls, Blackhawks, maybe it's comedy, maybe it's some music. Our friends over at Game Time has you covered. Take the stress out of buying tickets and go use our friends at Game Time and use their new feature, Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets easier to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great sites, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Along with Game Time Picks, again, it's curation made easier, so you can save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. And you could toggle the all-in pricing feature to show the total up front, so you have no surprise fees at checkout. You also get a view of your seat from the app. You get a panoramic view from your seat before you buy, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find tickets in the same row or section, and within 12 minutes, they'll send you that 110% of the difference. Herb did that out in Atlanta, and they had him covered. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time!
Who? All right. Let's get into the next free agent, and that is Corbin Burnes. Where do you think Corbin Burnes, Mr. Burnes, is going to end up here?
I was saying Boo Earns, and I think they'll be saying Boo Earns in Queens for the reason that a lot of the reasons you were just saying there, Sean, about the Mets trying to win the back page war with the Yankees. I don't know if they'll win it this offseason, but if they don't get Juan Soto, what's the next best prize? Corbin Burnes. It's going to take an awful lot of money to land him, and the Mets have it. Wouldn't that be nice for the Mets, as they are in that constant arms race in the NL East, to have somebody at the top of their rotation for a long, long while? I've got Corbin Burnes going to the Mets.
That's a great choice.
Is this going to be you just saying 10 players to the Mets, or us alternating Yankee or Mets on these players?
No.
Initially, I was thinking Corbin Burnes could go back to the Orioles, but I'm thinking another person we have on this list will go to the Orioles, and they will spin either or. So I'm going to have him going to the Bo Sox. With the uncertainty of where Lucas Giolito is going to be coming back because he's coming off of Tommy John surgery, or not really Tommy John, but a different type of Tommy John.
Brace plus.
Yeah. And so he's going to be probably out for the beginning of the season. To have a top of the rotation arm like Corbin Burnes, where they have plenty of money in Boston, and they see those teams passing them by, the Orioles, the Yankees, and Boston is one of those organizations that doesn't like to be out of the playoffs. The pressure's on them, and I think that they'll be spending big money this offseason, and their top target probably Corbin Burnes.
Our guy Ryan saying he sees the Mets, Giants, and Red Sox going after Corbin. I guess I could just round this up and say the Giants. The Giants seemingly
That's your pick?
No. The Giants are seemingly in on every free agent, so I wouldn't be shocked by that. But I think it goes to the AL Central. We saw the Tigers have a ton of great success in the postseason, kind of surprisingly, and we saw that mainly on the backs of Tarik Skubal, to get it right there. I think they will likely try to round out that rotation to get a second arm in it, because they didn't have one.
Pitching chaos can only take you so far, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, let's get rid of the chaos here. Let's go and get Corbin Burns so Skubal doesn't have to do it all by himself.
That's a good pick, and I kept seeing the Tigers as a contender for a lot of these big free agent names, and I certainly believe that they would be interested in doing that. But are they there? Are they one of these teams like Baltimore, that is just like push it all in because we can do it. This is the time now. I mean, if the Tigers go out and sign a big free agent, do you even know that they're going to get back to the playoffs? You know what I mean? Like you
think their run was flukish?
I don't think it was flukish, but I look at that roster and I didn't see a lot of people doing a lot of things on a consistent basis enough to be like they're going into 2025 as a favorite. Like, are they going to be? I mean, aren't people just going to be picking them to finish third in the AL Central again? It might get you back to the playoffs, but like
probably
probably.
The Royals might lose Waka, right? Like, I don't know. I don't love the Royals.
No,
I love Bobby Witt.
I think the Royals just signed him to extension, I believe, over the weekend, if I saw that correctly. But yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, new 3-year deal. All right.
As you said, Vinny, I think that actual run was a fluke. They had to think was a fluke because they sold off and they gave away one of the people we'll be discussing later on to the Dodgers. And I believe that they're probably not going to be in the Flaherty signing frenzy, and so they have to think that, it was great that we went on its run and going to the playoffs. It was an awesome season. But that lineup, as I said during the year, there's nothing there where you're like, yes, let's get that. Like, they're still paying Javi Baez a bunch of money not to play. Like, that's still going to be on their books next year. Skubal's a stud, awesome stud. But I don't know if they have the money and or wherewithal to go and sign a big-time player. And Uncle Ted says, Kerry Carpenter, yeah, great. Where's right-handers? That man's a bomb. He's awesome. But he's not a top-of-the-league star that you're scared of. I know he's early in his career, but there's nothing there. Riley Green's good. Torque came back, and he was all right. They don't have a lot there. And that's why they sold off in July. And then they just hit a run where they just couldn't lose.
It seems like if you're spending a gajillion dollars on Corbin Burns, you better spend a gajillion more on other players to help him out. That would be my thought, and that would be why I would stay away from Tigers at the top of the market. I think Ryan, that makes a ton of sense. Tigers going after middle tier guys instead of top tier guys, because you go after a few middle tier guys, and all of a sudden you're the Royals, and you're right at the top of the division all year.
And it worked out well for them,
right?
Are Soto and Burns the top tier? Like, is there a clear separation between Burns and Bregman, or even Snell, who's fourth on this
I
list?
would include all of the guys that we're going to talk about as probably too. Most of the guys we're going to talk about as mostly too rich for the Tigers' blood. That would be my thought.
I think Soto's on his own tier, and then it's a middle group, and then another group below that.
I mean, Burns is regularly one of, if not the best pitcher in baseball. He deserves to be up there and deserves to make a lot of money, which he will.
This one I don't know if it's going to be too exciting of a conversation. Third, Alex Bregman. Where do we have Alex Bregman going?
Astros. They need him. Plus, he just to keep one of those guys as a full-time Astro. Obviously, they've done it with Altuve, but to keep one of those, I wanted to say dynasty era. They only won twice, but one of those championship era Astros players in Astro uniform forever, and a guy who obviously can help you try to stay up there at that level. I think they bring him back. They need him.
Yeah, I think they do need him, but I think they have also saw their big-time free agents that they have cultivated as rookies and then brought them up. And when they left as free agents, they didn't skip a beat pretty much. When Springer left, they didn't really miss anything. Same thing with Correa. And I think they're going to say, okay, we didn't really miss anything there. We can let Bregman go. And the reason why I'm saying the Cubs, and I know they got Paredes, is because they need to sign somebody this offseason, especially a big-time bat. They'll strike out on Soto. I don't think they're going to get him, but they need to sign somebody. And having a big-time third baseman in Alex Bregman to go along with that infield that they already have, I think would make sense for the Cubs. So they got to get somebody, and I think they'll go put some money into Alex Bregman's pocket.
I think that I'm alongside with Vinny. I think it's going to be Bregman. I think they give one more run at this. Tucker's going to be a free agent next year, and I think it's more likely that they give money to Bregman than Tucker. Not because he's a better player, but I think one's in their price range. I think Tucker will likely be out of their price range. Jordan's there for 3 years, so could it be like a 3-year deal to keep Bregman in Houston, to maybe keep Altuve, Bregman, and Alvarez for 3 more years? I think the main thing, too, like you bring up, that's not what the Astros would do, but this isn't the Astros. This isn't the Mike Elias MVP machine Astros anymore. This is the Dana Brown Astros that seem to be another dimension, another world. I don't think Dana Brown lives in reality, and whatever reality he lives in, I think it would be fun to live in Dana Brown's reality. But I don't know. The hater move was odd. It seems like they're going
really odd
backwards, and signing a plus 30-year-old third baseman seems adequate for them. So I think he stays with the Astros, just because I think the Astros are going to kind of fall down, and I think this will be one of the mistakes they make. Fourth on this list, Blake Snell. Snellzilla.
I think a lot of teams probably will want to be in on Blake Snell after he pitched so well in San Francisco, probably that team being one of them. But the Orioles need to keep Corbin Burns, but I don't think they'll be able to, because he's going to get too much money from a team like the Mets. So I'll say that they win the quote-unquote consolation prize there of Blake Snell, and they install the 2-time Cy Young winner at the top of their rotation this offseason. They need pitching to go along with all that young hitting. And obviously, they've had injuries affect their pitching and stuff over the last couple of years. But I think Blake Snell is the guy who ends up topping that Baltimore rotation. And as we talked about yesterday, Sean, and have talked about so many times, going and getting another top of the rotation starting pitcher via trade, perhaps someone like Garrett Crochet, makes a lot of sense for the Orioles as well.
Blake Snell went on a free agent frenzy last year and, found out the grass is not always greener, because no one really offered him a deal that he was worthy of or that he liked until into the season, where he had to sign with the Giants. Had a slow start, got that no-hitter. Awesome. But I think that he says, where I won my NL Cy Young is where I need to go back to. As they lost Joe Musgrove already for Tommy John this past season, I think they need another starting rotation guy. I think the Padres are the spot for Blake Snell.
It's interesting. I know that they have some monetary, I don't even know how to say that word.
Monetary.
Issues. So I don't really know if that's going to be the name that they go spend on. Especially, you think that after he won a Cy Young, that would be the year that they'd bring him back.
That's why they had to purge Soto last year, because they're trying to save money. So they weren't going to pay Soto, so they tried to get all the money back. But not having a top of the rotation arm like Joe Musgrove not available, they're going to be like, okay, we need to have somebody else. And yes, AJ Preller usually gets those via trade, but I think he was going to actually get some money out there, maybe a 1-2 year deal for Blake Snell.
I think it's going to be the Giants. I think after the success that he had there, along with Buster Posey being now at the helm of baseball operations, and then them signing Matt Chapman to the extension they did, it seems like they're going to be for real and serious. So I think it'd be kind of foolish for them to let their ace walk out the door, especially if you're going to be a team that you think's going to win 85-plus games. So I think Snell just sticks in the Bay Area. I think they figure something out.
Goes to the A's.
Yeah, there you go.
They're not sticking in the Bay Area.
They're just
so,
the Athletic, too. Yeah. The Athletics now. They're not even, don't even say California or
Sacramento
Oakland.
A's.
No, it's just the A's.
That's terrible.
Awful.
They could have been the California A's as a callback to the California Angels. That would have been very fun.
No.
Yeah, bring back the Halo. I know. No, the team uses it.
I don't know if that's going to work. But I'll go Blake Snell to the Giants. So you have
Orioles,
Padres.
I have Giants. Next up, Willie Adames, the current or former Brewers shortstop, who's apparently willing to play both second base and third base. Where will he end up?
Everything you just said about the Giants finally getting someone to take their money makes a ton of sense, and I think Willie Adames ends up being that guy. You're right in saying that, it'd be nice if they balanced out some of the pitching with some of the hitters they've been signing in Chapman and the like, but I think Adames is the big prize going to San Francisco this offseason.
I think Willie Adames, the Dodgers seem like the fit there. I know that they're going to be switching Mookie back to the infield, but Willie Adames signing with the Dodgers seems like the best fit, and I think Gavin Lux is one that's going to lose out. So, yeah, I got him taking the Dodgers money.
This is a tough one. I don't hate the idea that someone finally takes the Giants' money. Do the Dodgers make sense with them moving Mookie back to the infield?
I think it does, because he's flexible, and he's young, he's powerful, and I think you can move other players to you can move Mookie Betts to second instead of short.
I think Willie Adames is going to end up on the Braves. This team's been fairly quiet. I don't think it's going to be that much of a bank-breaking move. I mean, maybe you're really forced to play him at shortstop, so you must really like him as a shortstop because Riley's there at third. You have Olsen, obviously, at first base. Second base is taken up by Albies in that great contract. But I think Adames ends up on the Braves because they haven't made any moves.
I think the Braves, I just read this today. This is not really me speaking expertly, but I did read this, and it makes a lot of sense. The Braves, all those contracts they signed way back when are now getting bigger. They are already, I believe, in the luxury tax. And to sign another huge contract would, like, permanently put them there. So they were talking about where I read this was talking about how that probably prevents them from bringing another pitcher in, even though they have kind of a hole in their rotation with Strider being out on opening day. But I think the Braves probably stay away from the tippy top of the market for that reason. Yeah,
they have Riley, Olsen, Sale, Acuna, Ozuna, Iglesias, Murphy, all making $15 million or more. So maybe if they're able to free up Rafael Iglesias's $15 or $16 million, they're able to maybe add somebody. But that's a fair point. So maybe the Braves aren't the place for him. I don't think the Brewers are going to be the place for him. No. So I think he's definitely got to be on a new team.
I'll mark that down. He's not going back to the Brewers.
You know what? I'll go with the Giants. They've been looking for somebody. I'll take the Giants and maybe they move him over to second base because third base is locked up there with Chapman. So he's got a potential place to move. Next up, speaking of the Braves, Max Fried.
Max Fried, we've already mentioned them a little bit. The Boston Red Sox team that looks like they finally want to start spending again and complimenting some big free agents with some of their young guys and get back into that AL East conversation. They already have Lucas Giolito. Why not make it a reunion of whatever high school that I can't remember? Harvard Westlake, thank you. Their Hollywood high school that they went to. I'm going to say Max Fried ends up pitching with Giolito in Boston.
He's going back home to the Dodgers because the Dodgers have a lot of holes.
Good Lord. You've got the Dodgers signing Adames and Fried.
Yes.
And they have Ohtani pitching.
Yes. But they're losing Walker Buehler. He's going to be a free agent. I mean, Clayton Kershaw's on his last legs. This guy fits right back home, back in Harvard Westlake.
And doesn't everybody think they're going to sign the Japanese pitcher too if he comes? Sasaki. If he comes, yeah.
Yeah, they got Yamamoto on the team. So I think, going back home, Dodgers have endless money. And so I think they're going to be like pushing the pedal down and say, there's no reason for us to stop. Max Fried fits right there.
We haven't brought up the Cubs. Ryan brings up Fried to the Cubs. I don't know if that's going to be the place he ends up because you have Iwanaga and Steele both as lefties in that rotation. You'd think you'd want a dominant righty arm. I wouldn't rule out the Cubs for Burns. So maybe if I'm wrong about the Tigers, maybe Corbin goes to the Cubs there. But I think Fried is going to L.A., and I think he's going to the Angels. We have not brought up the Angels who love to spend money.
They do.
Who love
knowing that they're going to lose.
I think he ends up on the Angels. I mean, I don't think that Perry Manassian and who's their owner, Artie Moreno, sit on their hands. I think they're going to go out and get somebody. And I think they'll be able to woo him over because, he's a California guy. Why don't you come live at home for millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars?
Money still works.
Money still works. I think Fried ends up going to the Angels. And, he has been on the IL a ton, which is very fitting for the Angels. All right, let's go to Pete Alonso, 7th on this list. Where does Pete end up?
I say he goes back to the Mets. I think the Mets not only love the guy, he's been kind of a face of that franchise for a while now, but also I think the Mets are going to spend a lot of money this offseason. And so, I mean, I've got him going with Corbin Burns. Why not make it a 1-2 punch and add a bat as well, or keep a bat in this situation? You just saw what he did for them in the playoffs. It would be hard for them to say, "Oh, we want to look elsewhere." I think he goes back to the Mets.
I second that. My Mets are his favorite squadron. They have a bunch of money. Why run away from happiness?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think as long as they come proper and they're not undermining his market, as long as they match what he is getting paid by or offered by other teams, I think that Pete Alonso likely stays with the Mets.
I think the only reason I don't say the Cubs is because I think Michael Busch's year was just so good for them. And they're like, there's no reason for us to go and spend big money on a first baseman where we get decent and maybe similar production from Michael Busch.
Well, and they can't put him at DH too because they got Suzuki at DH. So it's not really a situation like he has to play at first base. And I don't think Busch can play second. Plus you got Horner there and Swanson. So that just seems kind of like just kind of a mess there. Next up on the list, we got Jack Flaherty, former Dodger, former Tiger. Where does he end up?
I'm going to stay boring. He also will stay with the team he currently is on in the Dodgers, just because, man, they struck gold in getting him at the trade deadline. That to me seems more of like where the Dodgers are going to add. I know the Dodgers have endless money, obviously, and Jack Flaherty will get a good amount of it. But that to me seems more of like where they would go with their pitching. They've got Ohtani, Yamamoto, and Glass now at the top of that rotation. If you can make Jack Flaherty your fourth starter after what he just did in the playoffs for them, that's what makes total sense for the Dodgers in my mind, rather than them going and getting another MVP candidate to stick with all the guys they have already. Wouldn't put it past the Dodgers because we saw what they did last offseason, but that seems a very Dodgers-y move for where they are right this second. I think he goes back to LA.
Another Harvard Westlake guy getting paid again. Amazing. They can buy the city of LA after this. I think he goes it to LA or Anaheim, like you were talking about. The Angels throw a bunch of money at him, and he's like, I'm here already. This team sucks, yes, but I get paid. And if they suck bad enough, I can get traded again to the Dodgers or to a contending team like I did with the Tigers. So, yeah, I think he's going to stay in LA/Anaheim and be with the Angels.
I don't hate that move. I do think that he probably takes the biggest amount of money. I guess I could also see him going for another 1-year deal. I mean, hey, getting $15 million. I know there's not that much security, but you made like $30+ million in your major league career.
Wasn't last year the prove it year though for him?
Yeah, I guess, but like
he goes out and wins the World Series. I
mean,
like
it wasn't that great though.
He was pretty good in that San Diego series. Yeah, he sucked. He wasn't great in the World Series.
Flaherty, I'll have going to the Rangers. I think someone brought up the Snell being in on the Rangers, or the Rangers being in on Snell. Also, them throwing out Fried. I think he might be a little bit more digestible for the amount of money that they're paying Jacob deGrom. I mean, when you're paying him $40 million, you're paying Tyler Mahle $15+ million. You're paying John Gray $15+ million. Why not just get Jack Flaherty to round out that rotation?
Are they still paying Max Scherzer too, or is his contract up?
His contract's up. Okay. Well, I think it's also the Mets that are mainly paying his contract.
Gotcha.
So I'll say the Rangers for Jack Flaherty. I also feel like I could be wrong there because they still do have Rocker and Leiter as guys that could possibly fill up that rotation.
Both of those guys former Mets.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Al Leiter and John Rocker.
Well, and Kumar Rocker also, just a former Met.
John Rocker not liking New York too tough.
Ninth on
or
this
anyone.
list. Ninth on this list, Anthony Santander. Where does Santander, the former Oriole, go?
Another guy that the Giants finally find to take their money. Again, I know that's two big bats on a team that maybe look in a little bit more of a evenly balanced hitting and pitching direction, but I'm going to go ahead and say Buster Posey tries to make a huge splash in his first offseason with a team that hasn't had to dedicate too much financial resources in the recent past because Aaron Judge wouldn't take their money and Carlos Correa wouldn't take their money. Fail this physical. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Santander joins Willie Adames and Matt Chapman. What a middle of the lineup there for the San Francisco Giants.
I'm saying that he's going to go and stay in the Beltway, but go to the Washington Nationals there. I know the Nationals are not competing, but they like to throw money to people all the time. And I think Anthony Santander feels exactly what they're going to be doing there. And he gets a bunch of money from the Washington Nationals or goes back to the Orioles, but I'm going Nationals right now.
The Nationals are interesting. I mean, I've seen a lot of people throw them out and that they might be active this year. I know some people threw out Soto, but it seems like that's going to be too high for their price blood. But I mean, maybe Santander.
I don't super get why this would be the offseason for the Nationals to go big. Maybe they just like the player. That could definitely be the case. But while it seems like they're getting better, they're still one of those bottom of the league teams, and they play in a very tough division. I think when you're going to go spend that kind of money, it's kind of a sign that you're very confident you can compete right away.
Well, and do you want to know why I think they're spending the money?
Because the Nats?
Because they're not paying Patrick Corbin $25 million anymore. He's finally a free agent, so they finally have freedom on that.
Why isn't he on this top 10 list?
He sucks. And going to lefty starters who might suck, Sean Manaea, former Met who really found it in the second half of the season. I don't think I said where Santander's going to go.
No, where is he going to go?
Well, how about this? Sean Manaea is next on our list. I think both Sean Manaea and Santander are Orioles. I think that they're going to I think that they should go after more left-handed starting pitching, really just negate any lefty power and make hitters go to that deep part of the park in left field. I think Manaea, with his changed arm angle and the effect that had later in the season for the Mets, I think that could be a guy that could be a cheap top end of a rotation, top 3 guy for you. Just especially if you really think the arm angle changes are going to change his career with how good he looked in the second half. So I think they spend the money on Santander. I think they spend the money on Manaea, and that's why I also think that Garrett Crochet ends up on the Red Sox. I haven't had anyone go to the Red Sox yet, but I do think Crochet to the Red Sox makes sense. If I was the Red Sox looking at all these players, I could pay Burns $200 million, or I could pay Crochet, who's younger, less. I mean, I have to give up maybe Christian Campbell for it, but I'd take it. So I think Manaea and Santander to the Orioles.
I have Sean Manaea going to a team that I think is going to really want to make a big splash in free agency, but as we've seen that I have not mentioned them yet, probably are going to miss out maybe on some of the top guys. If they do, I think Sean Manaea makes a lot of sense. Local kid to the Cubs.
Okay.
I have that same thing, a region rat. And I think also, yes, you brought up the 2 lefties they already have in their rotation, but they're all good too. Like, they've had great years from Shohei Ohtani and Justin Steele. Having another lefty in the rotation, I don't think hurts them. And Sean Manaea fits into their rotation, and they're spending this offseason.
Interesting. And I don't think Ghost Miko's wrong. He's saying that he's telling us, actually, to not sleep on the Phillies. They can get hot. They're a team that has around $222 million on their payroll, so maybe they're in a little bit of Braves range where they don't want to go over the luxury tax, but this is a team that really hasn't gotten there just yet. They're spending $20 million on Schwarber, Castellanos, Romuto, Nola, Turner, Harper, Wheeler. Do they need more firepower?
Well, I mean, you always can use more, but I'll say this about the Phillies that I maybe wouldn't say about some of the other teams. I mean, I would not have a lack of confidence in picking the Phillies to win next year's World Series as they are right now.
Exactly.
And so that's not a reason to not go spend. But when you are up against the luxury tax with your spending and you have a roster that is already that good, you maybe would think twice about handing out another massive contract or 2.
Not as you said, not that they don't have the money and or the want to add, but where would a player like Manaea go? Like Nola, Wheeler, Sanchez, Suarez. They have a staff that is pretty stacked.
Taijuan Walker's their 5th starter right now. He sucks.
And so yeah, he does, but that's a nice 5th starter to have if he turns it around. And then where's he going to go in the field? Maybe center field, but otherwise they're pretty.
Santander's not a bad idea for them. A switch hitter with some pop. I mean, he could play left, center.
He's Soto type in the outfield. Not that much of a butcher, but he doesn't strike me as a guy that you would pay a lot of money to when you already got a butcher in right field in Castellanos.
You know who the Phillies need?
Yes,
Luis Robert Jr.
Lenyn Sosa. Oh yeah. Oh, hey.
Oh my God.
I think that's a pretty decent.
If they pay the premium, I'm all in for it.
Maybe a quiet offseason, but an aggressive trade deadline for Dave Dombrowski and the bunch. So there's our predictions for the top 10 free agents. We do have some Discord thoughts as well, so we appreciate everyone of our diehards sharing those in the chat. I do have some fairly similar predictions to share. Will M. Our guy saying that Soto's going to go to the Yankees, Burns to the Mets, Bregman to the Astros, Snell to the Red Sox, Adames to the Giants, Fried to the Cubs, Alonso to the Mets, Flaherty to the Dodgers, Santander to the Mariners. That one's new, and Manaea to the Yankees. We also have B-Dams saying Soto to the Yankees, Burns to the Mets, Bregman to the Astros, Snell to the Red Sox, Adames to the Giants, Fried going to the Tigers, Alonso going to the Mets, Flaherty's to the Yankee, Santander to the Phillies, and Manaea to the Rangers. And then AJ saying Soto to the Mets, Burns to the Yankees, or Burns to the Yankees, Bregman to the Astros, Snell to the Giants, Adames to the Giants, Fried to the Phillies, Alonso to the Mets, Flaherty back to the Tigers, Santander to the Dodgers, and Manaea going to Seattle. So some fun conversation there in the CHGO Discord. And if you do want to join, head over to allchgo.com/diehard to sign up today. You get a shirt of your choice. You get access to all of our written content on allchgo.com. You get discounts to both merch and events, and you get to join that previously mentioned CHGO Diehard Lounge. You get to talk White Sox, Bulls, Blackhawks, Bears, and more with all of our fellow diehards. So head over to allchgo.com/diehard today to sign up. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel, as we have a ton of Chicago sports content coming up for you today. Herb won't be here because he's off work after 5 p.m., but he will be going to the Bulls game.
I will be.
And he'll be watching the Bulls game after they wrap up. he'll be watching the the post-game show with Matt Peck, Big Dave, and Will Gottlieb here on the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We also have a Blackhawk show. Pre-game starts at 6:30 and post-game after the game. Briggs and Brown also on tap tonight for the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribing. Hit that thumbs up button. That's Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That's Herb Lawrence, our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson, and I'm your host of the CHGO White Sox podcast. Hit that thumbs up button. Thank you to Stephen Nicholas for producing the show, and we will talk to you tomorrow at 4 p.m. after Chris Getz and Will Venable address the media. So we'll have coverage on that event tomorrow at 4 p.m. here on the CHGO Sports YouTube channel.
We all silly like the mayor.